been a long day of Quake, and we still got more for you. I'm 40 Lions alongside Flea, and we have dooi versus Base coming up.
Interesting matchup, to be sure, right? These are two players, both on the NA and the EU side, that generally have a pretty similar play style, if I'm not mistaken, right? Both dooi and Base enjoy playing that slow pace, reactionary playstyle. They tend to just respond to what their opponent is doing. They both have zero issues whatsoever keeping it to a one frag game and then just running with the scoreline, just constantly shutting down the enemy's attacks and denying them all opportunities. So we might see very similar approaches to this next matchup.
And this is, yeah, kind of a dream matchup in that sense, right? Where you have like the NA and EU version of the same type of player. Maybe not same caliber in a lot of people's eyes, but you get that same play style. When these play styles collide, what do you get? And just between you and I and the rest of the chat, during practice sessions, I've seen dooi play Base and actually take maps off of him. Again, practice games not necessarily indicative of what's going to happen right here, right now. Just something to keep in mind as we slowly get into it. I think the map vetoes are in. We're going to get Blood Covenant, Molten Falls, Awoken. Dewey's going to play Doomscale Keel. Base is going to be on Nyx, Eisen, Ranger. But it all starts Blood Covenant, Doom versus Nyx.
Interesting champion picks, right? Base playing Nyx, definitely the more defensive of the two. You've got the Ghost Walk, get out of jail free card, so powerful when you are on the back foot and are trying to avoid the enemy damage. We've seen that earlier, right? When Base played Xanaku, he used the Nyx to perfection. Every single time that Zen fought, he had a chance of getting back into it. Base was just like, peace out, I'll see you in a minute or something, right? Just try and catch me. And he was out just like that. Meanwhile, dooi, again, similar sense of mobility with the double jump, but doesn't have that free escape. So he will be a little bit more careful, I imagine, even though it is Blood Covenant. Both of these players love these maps. They are very comfortable on this one in particular. So this should be a very curious matchup.
Yep, traversing rockets to catwalk, bridge to rail. It's all going to happen on both sides. But who will prevail as we get into this again? Lower bracket action. The loser is out. dooi versus Base. Let's get into it right now.
Indeed, starting things off on Base's point of view, and just so that everyone knows, this is a European server for the first map, so that might slightly favor Base. Nice little rail. dooi securing Mega, and look at Base just completely delaying Heavy. He wants more damage. dooi going for the risky rocket jump just to avoid getting hit right there. It's gonna pay off for him, but Base still has a serious stack advantage.
30 seconds in, dooi already on the back foot, and this is a rough start, but he's doing good of stabilizing, making sure he doesn't give up this frag, trying to play very slow, figure out exactly where Base is. There's the rail from behind, 2 HP, and Base should be able to get this, and wow, a vertical rail to end it and put himself up 1.
dooi definitely has his work cut out for him. Keep in mind, this is the #1 EU ranked player as we currently speak. Base, very strong track record. Kilson earlier on today proved to be a bit too strong for him, but dooi, he knows that he is dealing with one of the strongest Quake players currently in the league, and he's got to be careful, because those shots are Base's bread and butter. 62% rail versus dooi, sitting at 0%. Base has done an excellent job at denying the railgun to his opponent. dooi still doesn't have railgun right now, 40.
He's going to struggle to get it here as a jump mishap. Going to cost him a little bit more time. Heavy goes to Base, almost gets across, but again, that rail, Base is just everywhere you want to be. Downloading dooi, hitting all the shots that he needs to across the map, forcing dooi on the low ground, making it just such a pain to try and get up there and get that rail so he could fight back.
Base making good use of that wall jump, getting position on the Heavy. He's excellently cycling the items right now. Base has picked up 7 major. dooi has only managed to secure 1 major item, and that was the Mega that he basically spawned on. So Base, perfect item denial right now. dooi does pick up the rail at long last. Base is going to know that too. He's gonna hear that missed shot, realize that he cannot go for these long distance fights with the same level of confidence, because dooi is going to be clapping right back at him.
Ooh, and that rail almost connects from Base as dooi A little bit of a misplay there, thinking he dropped all the way down, but instead he dropped to the mid-ground near the nail. That could have cost Dooi big, but the rail to the cheeks. It's a good start from Dooi, but base responds almost immediately. 70 HP for Dooi. He's got to play this perfectly to stay alive. Machine gun is going to be the weapon of choice for base as he gets the frag, and Dooi spawns right on his railgun.
That's a lucky spawn. The American catching a bit of a lucky break right there. Base, though, of course, is going to be aware of that. It's not going to be a trump card pulled out of nowhere as he catches Dooi. Good LG into Rocket Base, making the decision to pressure this. Can he find the shot? Indeed, he will. Combo kill. Dooi, skeet shooting practice, that's all that was.
Really good practice of patience there from base. You know, those shots up the jump pad are easy, but you need to make sure that you make every one of them count. Base doing so. Up 3, a little bit of rocket damage from Dooi as he tries to hit the rails from down beneath. Tough shot to hit, and every corner he turns, there's damage waiting for him. Luckily, he avoids that tri-bolt damage. He's already weak with just 100 stack, no armor. He's gonna get the 50, but he might see some huge pain being dealt out here from up on Mega. Grabs the 50 cleanly and can get away. Tempting fate a little bit by being in that doorway. Base, I think he got a glimpse of him. There's the double drop. Oh no, and the LG is just magnetic.
51% railgun, or 51% LG, 56% rail, but Dooi, hang on, hyper aggressive. Not something most people would appreciate with the man from Texas. A resident cowboy still pushing in, realizes that base picks up the item before he gets a shot at it, and immediately fades away. Doesn't want to stick around for more. Very nice and calculated game. Both players thinking ahead, trying to picture where their opponent is going to be at and dodging around it.
I think there's a really good push from Dooi. He didn't want to let it get too out of control as he's trying to deal some damage here on the heavy. Hits 2 rails and he should back off, but he wants it all here. Nose base is low. That's a really good rocket. It could have been better. 31 damage. But he's going to give up the Mega, so all that damage that he just put out, undone. Great rail from Dooi. He's still hanging on by a thread. He's been railable for so long here. This base finally makes his way over there. Snag one, a little bit of tri-bolt as well, but now base is railable. Next rail could win it here.
Dooi, weak, tender, that's an important rail for he needed to land that shot, and indeed he did. Base caught slipping, looking the wrong way, and Dooi making the most of the opportunity given to him, though.
That bubble saving base's life after that rail. But we see time and time again, Dooi trying to get to the Mega from the low ground, and that's just so unfortunate because that's the hardest path to take. As Dooi constantly forced to the low ground. Now he has high ground on rockets. As he's trying to lay a trap, hoping that base will go for the Mega. Here's a little bit of sneaky. Just a little tap with the rocket here. Finally, he's able to get in on the Mega. Almost hits a rail as well. It's just the second Mega for Dooi. As he makes his way over to the heavy, this is going to be a clean pickup, hopefully. He wants to do some damage. Base finally pops the Ghost Walk, avoiding big damage. Now Dooi has the stack to take this fight. Base trying to maximize damage on his way out here. That's a good rail. Ooh, and Dooi almost hits a beautiful rail shot.
Keeping top control. That was a good little flick right there. Base is hurt, but gets out clean. Dooi, he still has a shot at this. Definitely in control of the map right now. Complete reversal from what we saw earlier. Base, I don't know about that 140. Base is kind of slipping up repeatedly right now. Just completely caught looking the wrong way. And
wow,
Dooi
the Ghost
makes the
Walk
most
in the
of
nick
it.
of time.
Yeah. That was actually perfect. Just around the corner and then slips on by as Dooi walks over towards the heavy. But now, Dooi knows Base doesn't have that ability for another 20 seconds. This is an opportunity. Can he make something happen? Ooh. Good rails being exchanged. Ooh, I love that from Dooi. Just holding the position for a while, waiting for the double back, seeing if Base is going to peek. He didn't this time, but still, pretty good attempt.
Dooi wants to get up close and personal, but just when he gets the chance, Oh my god, that's a big rocket. Can he finish the frag? Somehow Base puts out massive amounts of damage in a blink of an eye. 33 HP, Dooi had him dead to rights. The Ghost Walk saves his life, and then Base turns it all around like that. That is just what makes it so frustrating to play against Base.
And indeed, we've seen it time and time again when Base hits his stride. It is so difficult to counter the LG there, though. Looking good. Dooi doing everything he needs to do this time.
It's a beautiful play there to rocket jump up. Pre-fire, the bubble gets a little bit more damage and then finishes off with the LG. That's exactly what he needed. Less than 2 minutes left, 2 frags up. And now he's got to fight against the time and Ghost Walk. So essentially, as you said before, he has to kill him twice. He has to force out the Ghost Walk, put him in a position where Base feels threatened, and then find him, catch him, and actually frag him. All within a minute 30, and he has to do it twice.
This might be too big of an ask for Dooi. Those rails, though, that is what he needs. Railgun, such an effective tool to counter. He's even gonna go for the fakey rocket jump. There we go, Base. I love the decision for Base not to go for the Ghost Walk right there. He knew he had the better positioning. He knew he didn't have to move just yet. And so he just held on to it. Used that LG, knowing that he had enough breathing room.
Still has the Ghost Walk in him, even if things go horribly wrong. A little bit of LG. Base still holding on. The rail will not convert from Dooi. Needed that damage as Base did get in on that Mega while Dooi was grabbing the Heavy, and time is of the essence, less than 45 seconds.
"30 seconds, half a minute. Can he do it? Dooi, one rail, needs another. Base popping the Ghost Walk wisely, even securing Mega. This is gonna be the final fight for Dooi. Base decides not to stick around, just sends him back down. I don't know about this one. I think it's over for the... I don't see any possibility for the Green Power Ranger Dooi to find his opponent. Look at that Base, just slipping on by.
Yep, Ghost Walk to seal it. No risks from Base. Very cold, very calculated, and highly defensive again. Base is becoming more and more of a threat when he has that opening frag or two, because you know that he could default to this style of play, especially when he has Nyx and the Ghost Walk in the pocket. It just becomes almost impossible to overtake that defense. So he puts map 1 in his pocket, and he's looking to put the final nail in the coffin on Dewey's tournament life. We're going to go over to Molten Falls. It'll be Scale for Dooi versus Eisen for Base.
Oof, okay, the Eisen, very traditional, classic counter pick to the Scale, because when that massive hunk of man meat comes charging at you, all it needs is to put down that turret and you can block him, kill that momentum completely. So it's like the last line of defense, the final ace up your sleeve. And that's a tactical pick from Base, knowing that when you're playing Eisen, you don't have any mobility, you don't have any movement abilities to work with, so that might be what he needs to stop the onslaught that Dooi is no doubt intending to bring.
And for what it's worth, we are going to be swapping to Dewey's server pick. Whether that helps or not, we'll see. We did see minor flubs in his movement. I mean, it's very hard to play on ping that high. I totally understand. So maybe this is what sends Dooi over the edge and lets him get a third map off of this set. Again, tournament life for both these players at stake. Flea, we're dropping good players like flies. This is it. Tournament life.
This could be over in 10 minutes. Dooi, after taking down Effortless in a very, very close and hard-fought game, might be meeting his end right here, might be reaching his limit. As Base looked incredibly strong. I think the defensive plays, Molten Falls is one of Base's favorite maps. We all know that, Dooi. Or Dooi, what am I saying? 40. We all know that this is one of his...
Look, it's the mustache. I understand you want me to be Dooi. I understand, but I can never reach that level of handsome, okay? No matter how hard I try. It just won't happen, okay? You can close your eyes and pretend, Flea. It's fine. I'll allow it.
You need the cowboy hat 40.
do.
That'll help. That's an attribute that dooi has on you, and also the big boots. But still, we know that this is a map that Base loves, right? Especially that area over at the teleporter next to the railgun. He loves just setting up there, knowing that he has so many escape routes, so many angles, lines of sight, and the Ison turret gives him even more tools on his belt to help deal with any aggression that dooi might deliver.
Yeah, this could be the curtain call for dooi. He's got to play his A game. He already knows in the back of his mind if he gives up the lead, it's going to be very hard to chase down. Even Scale versus Eisen, Base just has a way. He always, like you said, keeps that escape route in mind. He's got to plan A, B, C, and probably D. But let's see if dooi can take us to a third map and extend his tournament life for at least another map. Molten Falls map number 2 in the series, lower bracket action. Chat, make some noise, show some support for whoever you support. I support Quake, Flea, so I'm just in it to watch as much as possible because this has been a marathon of a day. We still got more games on the way, and just glad to be here, buddy.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that I'm here with you, 40, most of all. Starting it off,
so sweet
though,
to me.
on Base's point of view. Going for that heavy machine gun after a mega pickup. dooi delaying heavy a tremendous amount. But Base was close enough to hear the pickup, so dooi does not get the element of surprise, making this actually rather risky for him, because if Base gets the upper hand in this situation, he might be set up for a very early rotation and control.
Base grabs that mega, has Timmy the turret in the pocket. dooi has the bull rush. Look forward to seeing the first time that's deployed and seeing if Base does throw down that turret almost immediately on reaction. There's the play, and the turret doesn't come out, and a lot of damage does come out. Up the jump pad, that rocket was pristine. 100 damage to say, get off of me, as dooi really wanted to convert that into a frag, and Base wanted no part of it.
Base setting up on Mega, nice and early. That's some good defensive damage with the Tri-Bolt. He needs more than just that, though. Rockets, gonna go a long way too. dooi didn't take that much damage, but just the momentum was killed. And now Base, sitting in a bad spot up on the heavy. Doesn't have much to work with, 40. Mega's about to spawn. This is risky, dooi. I like the rocket jump right there. Love the way he approached that. Just the moment he picked it up, he was like, I'm not even gonna wait. I know what my opponent is doing right now, and he's gonna get out of there clean and quick.
Yep, wanted no part of anything dooi was planning. Get out of there. He's denying these vials by deploying that turret as well, making sure the bull rush is on cooldown as long as possible for dooi. 2 minutes in, tied at 0, and I wouldn't have it any other way between these two.
Base. Now, giving up yet another item. It's been all about dooi picking up most of these, at least in the past cycle. Base started off pretty strong, but now hasn't gotten his hands on a major for quite some time. As dooi, just look at that stack. The heavy champion working in his favor. He's gonna hear the heavy picked up though. Base playing a very slow, calculated game.
Such a good angle for that rail. dooi trying to make some Tri-Bolt happen, won't connect. Base has the 50 shard, he hears the mega pickup, and it's a small victory for dooi here. Stacks are about even. Base already setting up the rail. He sees the rocket launcher as both players firing their slugs off. Nothing will land. 3 minutes in, tied at 0.
Nice Tri-Bolt. Gonna help out a lot. Base successfully turning things around. Those rails, they're helping him out tremendously. Mega, heavy, everything is going in favor of the Russian right now. Still a very slow game. Yeah, those defensive rails, 40. That's exactly what Base is just counting on. It's the exact same thing he did when he played Zeneku, remember? Just setting up, very reminiscent of the Hang as well. It's a very powerful playstyle on this particular map. Position yourself around the center area. There's generally just these two overall lanes, two parts to this map. From the center part, you can kind of keep an eye on both, and then you just can instantly banish them with the rail.
just punishing 90s on 90s. And exactly what Base wants to do, keep these wide lanes and angles and lines of sight open for his rail, making dooi pay the price for even thinking about aggressing, as he's just running the items that he wants. He doesn't even want to necessarily overcommit to any items unless he feels safe enough to. And Base is totally cool with playing this slow game even without the lead. He's going to make sure that he takes a fight that is completely in his favor.
It's exactly what he wants to do. He's not going to settle for anything less. Waiting over at the heavy. Think this is the longest game I've costed for the entirety of the finals. That was a 0-0 scoreline. And of course, it is Base versus dooi. What else? What else would it be?
The Kings. This Base shows himself. A little bit of a flare rocket from dooi, just to let him know he's there. Base still has just huge stacks. As dooi's only gotten 2 megas. Heavy's about even, 4-5 in favor of dooi. Next one, of course, going to Base, and dooi's been sitting on an okay stack for so long, but look at that, just like that, the rail's gone. He's gonna grab a 50 shard, almost converts another rail, does Base. And he's just running these items, making sure his stack is heavy, a couple rails here and there, forcing dooi to go to the armor shards. And if he keeps hitting these rails, I think it's just a matter of cutting off on one of the armor shards, and dooi should be able to get the frag. Or, excuse me, Base should be able to get the frag. As dooi getting caught out, there's a rail in the air as he tries to escape, and just like that, Base is up 1-0, 540 into this one.
Good LG coming out. A little bit of a tickle. Base finally getting himself a leg up in this competition. Both players really waiting for a mistake. They don't want to be the first one to give up a frag. Exactly for the reason that we talked about. Now dooi has to chase. And that is difficult to do against the defensive powerhouse that is Base. Well, Base not checking his angles there though. That could have been an easy bit of damage for dooi. Looks like Base, the Russian, had no clue where the American was hanging out at.
Which is very rare, I feel, as Base puts that mega in his pocket. 630 in, up 1 frag, and this is kind of Base's cruise control. This is where he likes to be. 1 frag, no big deal. A little bit of rocket damage from dooi, but he's going to back off, firing a warning rail behind him. But Base is still cycling these items. He still has the frag lead, and he doesn't mind this pace at all. And there's dooi around the corner. There's 1 rail. Base looking for another one up the jump pad. He's going to nail it, and dooi, down to 50 HP, has to retreat.
This is looking dire for dooi. He needs to start just getting at least some momentum. That is how you break Base. Landing rails, probably the go-to weapon for dooi. Fortunately for him though, sitting at a low 25% railgun accuracy, as Base is hitting 64%. And that means that whenever dooi goes for one of these shots, Base is there to meet him. This was good from dooi though. Base absolutely unprepared. The rail misses. That would have been the kill shot. dooi. To be a bit disappointed about that one, but still Base is left low. He's hurting. Doesn't really have anywhere to go. Sticking out.
So close on that one.
Yeah. dooi had a good shot. Oh,
Wow.
Full tribal is more than a direct rocket 40, so that hurts. That hurts.
Oh, and there's a big rocket going through the tail. He doesn't have choice, and dooi converts bull rush into shoulder, into shotgun. The most famous combo from Scale Bear here, as he's still weak. Mega's gonna go to Base. But dooi still in this. Less than 2 minutes. He just needs to make another frag. Almost catches him out with a huge rocket. And even though the styles are similar, that you can't help but feel like this is a bit of a masterclass from Base. He's kind of, showing him exactly what a defensive style should look like, as dooi trying to crack the code, so to speak. He's got a minute 20 to grab 1 more frag to tie it up.
All the pressure is on the American right now. what is Base doing? Base is just sitting in the corner next to Heavy. I was on Base's point of view, and he just sat in a tiny little hallway next to Heavy, wasn't even looking, and then he just noticed like, oh, hang on, Heavy just spawned. Why not pick it up? He was just completely switched to the defensive. There comes the turret, the perfect block. dooi. He had an opportunity. Base was not expecting that, loving the rocket jump, but he takes a lot of pain for his effort. He knows he can't sit back yet. Peeks dangerously for a rail. Doesn't connect, but luckily for him, doesn't take any damage in return, because that would have been deadly.
Just
Still has a
right
shot,
when
yeah.
it needed to happen most, we saw the play, right?
Yeah.
Timmy the turret going down, taking the shoulder for the team, giving Base an opportunity to potentially run away with this one. 15 seconds left. Bull Rush is back. dooi does have a high enough stack to start rocket jumping his way towards Base, but he's got 9 HP. There it is. There's the rail. He gets past. Can he do it? There's the Bull Rush with the shotgun. Can he hit it? He can't. He's so weak. He needs the damage. And he misses the rail, and it all came down to that. That was so close.
I really wasn't expecting dooi to get close to tying it up after how those final few minutes went, but then somehow the miraculous bull rush out of nowhere actually almost paid off. He just kind of fumbled the aim right there, not quite connecting with the super shotgun, and then that final railgun. It was a tricky shot. You're being bombarded with rockets, you're dodging down the stairs, but dooi, if he had landed that shot, it would have been a tied game going into overtime.
I mean, nerves are so high right there. That was it. He was looking at the clock. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He just couldn't put the beat on him. So close, though. But absolutely, that momentum that he had got him past the turret. Didn't even expect him to do that. I'm sure Base didn't either, as he was probably like, oh my god, this is happening. But Base gets away with it.
Yeah.
Knocks dooi out, and he keeps his tournament life afloat. Close, hopefully.
Yeah, very close. We've basically just seen a repeat of the last time these players went up against each other, and that was at the Stage 2 finals in the first season, the one that Base had his incredible run, and it was the exact same outcome. 2-1 victory for Base, but again, a close call. We're seeing a repeat of that today. Well played to dooi. Definitely made it a close game, but ultimately Base, just the defensive games were a bit too strong.
Yeah, Base reminding everybody, hey, I'm #1 on the EU side for a reason, even though I'm in the lower bracket. And we have to say our parting words to dooi. Big shouts to him for a good run through the tournament. But that'll be the end of the line, and that'll be the end of us here on the B stream. We're going to get out of here, but check out the A stream for more games, more action, more Quake.